Welcome to the GP Preview Show.
Round 8, Baku, Azerbaijan.
Round 7 brings us to the former home of the European Grand Prix, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, our third street circuit in a row, and it's a beautiful destination to host nearly the halfway stage of the Formula 1 season. Can you believe that, guys? But as always, in a preview show, we always start with our predictions. Now, we should be going bold here because it is starting to get a bit of a mixed grid, let's say. That sounds like a meal, that, doesn't it? A mixed grid instead of mixed grill. That sounds quite
a large mixed grid.
That sounds quite tasty, which is how the F1 battling is coming along. Very, very tasty indeed. So as always, I'm going to give my top 3. I'm then going to hand over to Lyle and give his top 3. So I'm going to go with first to third, because third might surprise you guys a little bit. So obviously I'm going to go with race winner Lewis Hamilton. Now Lewis Hamilton, as we all know, dominated in Canada, as we all knew he would. I mean, the fastest ever lap, equaling Ayrton Senna's pole position record. I'm pretty sure he'll get another pole position here, because Hamilton, when he comes on this kind of form, he just comes alive, and he's almost this. He's not even man anymore. It was like what Emerson Fittipaldi was when he was apparently a werewolf in the car, and I think Lewis Hamilton has that same sort of mentality going on right now. So I think he is going to get like another clean sweep, another Grand Slam as they call them. So. Yeah, I'm definitely going with Lewis Hamilton for the race win on this one. Obviously, and last year he wanted to redeem himself because he had he had a car issue, if you remember, when the rules were very, very strict on what the teams could actually say to the driver, which then caused a big debate, and then obviously which then actually led to these radios being banned. So Hamilton will want to definitely make up for that. In second place, I'll go with Sebastian Vettel. Now, Sebastian Vettel had a very poor Grand Prix in the last one, if you remember. Well, obviously at the start he collided with Max Verstappen collided with him, and then caused a bit of damage to his front wing, ended up pitting right at the back, fought his way through the grid. I mean, very, very impressive, to say the least, because obviously it was very hard to overtake, not only in Canada, but in Formula 1 this season. So, very, very impressive. I'm going with PT, because I think he is going to have another good Grand Prix, but I don't think he is going to have the pace compared to Hamilton. Now, P3. Now, I'm not going with a Ferrari. I'm not going with Mercedes. I'm not going with a Red Bull. So you're probably thinking, oh, you're not going to guess Fernando Alonso, are you, Jordan? No. Don't worry. I'm not going down that route. I'm going with Esteban Ocon. Now, I was very, very impressed with the driving. I mean, the strategy, that's for another story, for Force India-wise anyways. But Esteban Ocon drove superbly, which obviously we awarded him driver of the day in our thoughts anyways, which I thought was fully deserved. I mean, Sebastian Vettel, of course he was going to get it, because he drove from the back of the grid near enough to the front. But Esteban Ocon, the age he is, and obviously competing against a more experienced driver in Sergio Perez, I thought was absolutely amazing. So, and obviously Sergio Perez got a podium here last season, which means Force India know what they're doing at this circuit as well. It suits their car quite well. So I believe that I think it is going to be a good Grand Prix for Force India, but I think Esteban Ocon will get the one over his Mexican teammate and get his first podium of the season. I honestly do believe that. He's got the skill, he's got the car. Why not? Why not put the challenge to it? So Lyle, that's my predictions. What's your predictions? Tell us.
Well, this race is very, very interesting. It's a great circuit. It really, really is fantastic. So my top 3 for the wins, obviously the one and only winner, Nico Rosberg, is not on the grid to defend his crown in Baku. So what will happen anyway? So I'm going to start with third place, and my third place driver is going to be Valtteri Bottas. Now he does very well. He did well in Russia. Now Russia obviously is like the previous street circuit that we've had on. Yes, obviously we had Monaco, but then in Russia he had a great performance there. Obviously victory from the race, almost a Grand Slam, obviously like the fastest lap, and he did really well in that weekend. Obviously Mercedes, he's probably the number 2 driver behind Lewis Hamilton at the moment, but he's definitely wanting to, climb that ladder, see what he can do. So I'm saying that Valtteri Bottas is going to be in third place. Now, in second place, like Jordan, I'm not going with a Mercedes, I'm not going with a Ferrari, and I'm not going with Red Bull. Am I going with Fernando Alonso?
I hope not.
No. and the thing is, right, here we go. I'm going to go with a Force India, but it's not Ocon. It's his teammate up the road, or teammate next door, and it's Sergio Perez. Yes, obviously, his podium last year was really amazing. It was defining, really, because obviously, so he got the podium in Monaco 2016, was fantastic. Obviously, the pinnacle, the jewel in the crown, as a podium, obviously as him, in a Force India as well, and that they were on the rise, but they're not, they weren't a fantastic team at the front. So to do something like that was great. You got driver of the day. Then obviously it went to Canada, an average race in Canada last year, and then it went to Baku. So like miss that race, it was almost like a back-to-back, and then Checo gets another podium, and then I think he gets the driver of the day again from us.
Yes.
So you just think what an amazing performance, and obviously as John's just said, Canada, it was hard, but it was a great race in Force India, and I do think like the speculation at the end, in terms of like, Perez and Ocon, should Ocon have let Perez through, blah blah blah. That we're not really going to be discussing that in that episode. I mean, we've talked about it, but it's not really a massive thing. At the end of the day, Force India, 4th and 5th, a great result from them. Ocon will have a good performance because he has to have a great car around street circuits and around Baku as well, shown by last year. But I think it's going to be Perez as the leader of the team. I think it opens the door up to think, okay, so there's one guy that I haven't said in first place yet. And we're probably all thinking, well, after his drive in Canada, and after his teammate won here last year, what... I can't not say this driver. So I'm going to put your minds at ease, and I'm going to say the driver that we're all thinking that I should put in first place. And, of course, that is number 5, Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, sorry. So I'm not putting Lewis Hamilton in my top 3. I don't know where he's going to finish. I'm not saying that he's going to have a bad race. I just think Sebastian Vettel, it's his time again. It's his time. Now, obviously, we saw Ferrari, they dominated, obviously, in Australia. Then there was a Mercedes and Ferrari battle. Then it's kind of slacked off a bit, and it's looking like it's more Mercedes, but it's still Ferrari's in the mix, and, fighting away, obviously, at the top between Vettel and Hamilton. But I think now Vettel's going to pull it back, and obviously, he's going to extend his lead at the top, and there's going to be a bigger fight at the top. Obviously, heading into round 9 in Austria, which, as I say, it's creeping up to the summer break. It's crazy to think that we're having such a big battle in our hands at that time. But yeah, anyway, so Vettel in first place. Hamilton, he'll have a good race, of course. Yeah. But I don't know. I just think Vettel will do a good race. But obviously, in terms of our predictions and stuff, there's a lot of times when we're not right. There's a few times where we're quite close on the button. In terms of the who predicts it, I'm winning. I think I've done quite well in Monaco. I predicted, I think it was 1st and 3rd, and I also did that for Canada as well. Obviously, I put Lewis Hamilton to win and Daniel Ricciardo in 3rd place. Obviously, Jordan only got one right in Lewis Hamilton. So obviously, that's kind of inevitable, really. We all think it'll be Hamilton on top. But so for this race, I'm definitely saying it's obviously Vettel 1st, Perez 2nd, and Bottas 3rd. A good drive by him, which is what he needs, which is definitely what he needs. But I'll tell you something, that all eyes are going to be on Perez, and we're going to talk about him and also Ocon in the second part after Fry the Grid, because Force India is probably the team. They're like the biggest diamond in the rough around this certain, and again, as I said, we're going to get into more detail about them. But yeah, that's my top 3 for the Baku Grand Prix, John.
That's very, very bold predictions, I would say there. Very, very risky as well, because Vettel win, obviously that's realistic, but then you got Sergio Perez in P2. I mean, to be fair, well, I say it unrealistic, but it's like, it's ambitious. It's doable as well, because Sergio Perez is a brilliant driver. Obviously, hasn't had the podium yet, but I'm pretty sure that will come. That will come very, very soon. But anyways, it is now time for probably the most. I mean, none of this bloody rubbish about Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel rival. None of this Ayrton Senna. What's his name? Alain Prost. Alain Prost.
Great thing to say.
Brilliant. What is it? You've got some amazing rivalries in Formula 1, but this one is arguably the biggest, which is obviously Fry the Grid. Now we're in round 7, so round 8, round 7, round 8. 8, oh dear. So it is getting quite close now. Currently, as the points stand, Lyle is on 21.5 and I'm on 18 points. So Lyle is in the lead, but can I claw the gap to either get close to him, level, or even overtake and and actually be in front for the first time this season? So anyways, guys, here is round 8 for Fry the Grid. Okay, I've just been editing Fry the Grid now. I need to address you on a couple of things before you watch it. The first one being that obviously Baku was only on the calendar for one season, and that was last season, and there's not really much to really discuss. So we decided to sort of bring in the European Grand Prix questions, because that's what it used to be called, and also we generally thought at the time it was still called the European Grand Prix, so that's kind of our bad. The second one being is that we actually lost half of the footage when we were actually transporting it to one another. Now, also as well, you've probably seen that I got multiple points for every circuit I got right when I was talking about the European circuits. And at the time, we were still doing more than 10 points. Whereas, like since then, the others that we recorded, we've just been doing 10 points. We decided to scrap that idea. So obviously, I've only got 8 points because of that. And as I was saying, we did lose some of the footage. So I did get some right and some wrong after that. So they don't count anymore. So the ones I got right are just scrapped. They don't count anymore. I only got the 8 points. Obviously, apologies for that, but at least you now know, and enjoy Friday the Grid.
Hi guys, this is Jordan, and this is Friday the Grid for Baku, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, as it's called these days.
Question 1. Who was the only winner?
Nico Rosberg.
Correct.
Brilliant start.
Question 2. The castle section is approximately how many meters wide?
Oh god, 14?
14 meters! 2.4? You can hardly fit a car in. Question 3. The European Grand Prix has been held at 6 tracks. Name all of them.
Okay, so obviously Baku,
Yep,
Valencia,
yep,
Nürburgring,
yep,
Brands Hatch,
yep.
I should know this. Jerez.
Yep.
I should know this guy. I did the thumbnail for it in last season.
Yep.
Donington.
Yes, correct.
6.
Very nice. Question 4. When did the European Grand Prix start? When was the inaugural one held?
I'm thinking 70s. I think was it 70s or 80s? Probably 70s because Jerez was there. I'll probably say about 1975.
1983.
Brilliant.
Unfortunately. Question 5. Who is the most successful constructor in the European Grand Prix?
I would have thought Ferrari.
Correct.
And they say all good things must come to an end, and my reign at the top of Friday the Grid comes to an end. John takes a lead by 4.5 points, so it's not great. I mean, I had a bit like Nico Rosberg last year. I had a great start, but then, well, it's just all gone really. I mean, Lewis Hamilton took the lead by Hungary. It's a few races before that. So, but yeah, John has done a great Lewis Hamilton almost mimicking what he did last year. But I mean, you must be happy, John. 4.5 points ahead of me, and I mean, I am awesome. So it must be a good, must be a good thing for you then, eh?
It must be. I must be doing something right. Oh, I'm cheating. One of the two. I'm not too sure about that one. I mean, to be ahead of him. I mean, to be fair. I mean, realistically, it's easy. I mean, don't tell him that. Obviously, don't tell him that. But
yeah. Well, that makes me feel even worse.
Yeah. Trust me, guys. I've known him for a while. He thinks he knows a lot about Formula One, but really, he's only here to pass the time. He's only here to fill in that gap on the left hand side of the screen. So obviously,
he's paying us to be here. Not enough, but he's paying us.
I've got to pay some. You know what I mean? He's got to pay his bills. So obviously now Friday the Grid is over with. We're just going to jump straight into talking about different teams and drivers who should really be we should be talking about. Heading into the Grand Prix in hand, and one of the drivers who, as like I said in the debate show just gone, that we haven't really mentioned a lot this season. But however, we're going to mention him in 2 sort of videos in a row, and that is obviously Max Verstappen. Now, we're not going to be really praising him as we really have it. Well, we're not going to give him credit. Let's say, you know what I mean. Like we always give him Verstappen's always, he's always a very good driver. He can win multiple championships, but he's on a bit of a downer right now because, as we've seen in Canada, a brilliant start, which then allowed him to sort of retire a few laps later, and that's like a 3rd retirement or something in 5 races for Max Verstappen, and that kind of form, that isn't good. And for a driver like Max Verstappen, it's just like, oh my God, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like he should be having this car where he should be able to be, putting it on the podium, putting it on pole position, and getting some race wins. And he hasn't done it. He's got 1 podium in China, which it was a tremendous drive. So I think coming into this weekend, Max Verstappen is going, okay, right. There's a bit of a pattern going on here because you had Bahrain, you had DNF. I did not finish. Russia, that you had 5th. Spain, you had a DNF. Monaco, you had 5th. In Canada, you had a DNF. So I think you can probably tell where he's going to finish. Don't you, Lyle?
it's not where it's not where he'll want to be. It's not great.
It might be P4, but no. Obviously, there is a little bit of a pattern going on there, and obviously Max Verstappen is probably going to be quite impatient in a way. You know what I mean? Like, he's into his third season in Formula One. He's not a rookie anymore. He's one of the most gifted drivers on the grid. And he's got potential, obviously. So he's going to be thinking, right, I want to be in a car that exploits my skills. So obviously he's going to be putting a little bit of pressure on Red Bull to say, okay, come on guys, let's get this car sorted. Now, we are aware that Red Bull is sort of waiting for this major upgrade that's coming for Renault. I don't know when it's coming. It was supposed to be coming in Spain or Monaco, I think it was. I'm not really too sure. And now it's not, and it hasn't. So
I know what the problem is. Can I just say? I know what the problem is. So Renault, what have happened is Renault have got all these upgrades for Red Bull. They're amazing. They are really, really great. But they've put them on the back of a van. And do you know what's powering that van? It's a McLaren Honda engine.
Oh, that's right.
That's the problem.
It's like
they're never gonna get there. Unfortunately, Red Bull. You should have put it on the back of a Toyota, because obviously we all know they're great.
We're definitely not talking about WEC on this one, are they? There's certain people that would get our throats out, anyways. So yes, obviously, Lyle. Max Verstappen isn't doing obviously great. So what do you think? Do you think he should really come into this week and get? Well, actually, do you know what? It's not really a question of does he need to get a good result? He does need to get a good result, because if he gets another DNF, that's what, 4 DNFs in 6 races. That's really bad for a car that's supposed to be quite reliable compared to his teammates, who's on a good run right now, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's great. I mean, so the first thing about Verstappen is, and I mentioned this a few episodes ago, and I said that when Red Bull have a problem with the car, it's a massive thing. It almost is like the end of the world, because obviously Red Bull, especially like through 2010 and that, obviously with Sebastian Vettel, they were seen to be the very, very strong team. They had everything to play. They had everything. The car reliability was tip top, and everything was all great. And I remember Britain 2013, and I was saying that Jordan the other day. I was saying about that when Sebastian Vettel had his gearbox failure in the race. That was one of those moments that it was a bit like when Hamilton obviously had his engine failure, engine fire last year in Malaysia. It was just it was an unbelievable thing. Like when Max retired, you just saw him pull over at the side of the road, and it was crazy just to think that that's actually happened to a team that once had everything. The car reliability was tip top, and that, and obviously there's been DNFs before. Obviously, Daniel DNF'd in Australia, bad race from him. Obviously, Max has DNF'd a few times, as Jordan said. So it's not good for Red Bull's point of view in that. But obviously, Max is still a good driver. He's got everything. He is a great driver in the car, and it's not really Red Bull have car reliability problems. But obviously, if this keeps continuing, it's just not great for him. It's not what he wants. And again, just one thing that we mentioned in the last few episodes, we also said that obviously Max, it's like Max and Daniel have they kind of have like a rivalry respect for each other. They're not biting each other's heads off like Nico and Lewis, but obviously secretly, like everything, they'll want to fight with each other, and they'll when one wins, when one gets a better result than the other, like the other one, obviously the one who doesn't get the result, will get kind of impatient, as Jordan just said, impatient, and that's probably a bit like what Max is getting. Daniel's had 3 podiums back to back, a triple header is what they call it, obviously in Spain, in Monaco, and in Canada. Great result from him. We haven't neither of us have put him in the top 3 for Baku, so obviously he wouldn't do it there, but I mean, again, he could do if he wanted to. And obviously then, as you know, after this race, it's Austria, obviously the team's home race, so obviously that's an important one. So it's great for Daniel. He's really flying. And Max is a great driver. It's just obviously that car reliability, that really let him down in Canada, and that was a massive shot. And I remember when DC was talking to Max, talking to Christian Horner, after like during the race, on the pit lane, again they were just saying about the reliability, and Christian was almost like lost for words. He was like, this is a bit of a shot, really. It's like a bit like Sebastian Vettel that year. It was like, wow, we were definitely not expecting that, and obviously those kind of problems happen in McLaren that don't happen to teams like Red Bull. But on the other hand of the spectrum, as I just mentioned there, Daniel Ricciardo, very, very strong from him, flying. Definitely showing he's the stronger of the Red Bull drivers. I mean, he's always one that I'll always put at the top. If you were saying to me, rank the Red Bull drivers, I would definitely put Daniel ahead of Max any day, because he's been there longer, he's older, he's got more like experience. Obviously, he's got more race wins as well. But he's it's his time, really. It's his time. Yeah. And I think this season, I mean, obviously he's probably not going to win the World Championship, because obviously Hamilton and Sebastian have they've kind of like ran away into the field, as it happens many years. We're probably going back to things like 2012, when obviously again there was like a big mixing bowl and everyone was in it. Well, actually 2012, just using that as an example, there was 7 different winners in 7 different races, and obviously round 7 was Canada. So if you think about it, at this time everyone had one win, and then round 8, which was the European Grand Prix in Valencia, obviously that won by Fernando Alonso, and he'd already won in China. Or had he won? It was China or Malaysia? Sorry, Malaysia. Yeah, so he won in Malaysia, and then he won again in Valencia. So obviously that broke the silence, and then he went to the top, I think. So obviously that was all when it was to play for. But then obviously a lot of times it's just people running in the distance. But anyway, so Daniel Ricciardo's probably not going to win it this year, but he's definitely shown that he's the stronger of the Red Bull drivers, and obviously, that's what he needs. I mean, I think that he's been at Red Bull since 2014, and I'm really happy for him. But on the other side of the spectrum, it's not good for Max. It's a bit of a shame, really. It's not what he would want, really. I mean, he needs to get better in his driving. But I mean, Daniel Ricciardo must be very happy, and maybe he could get onto a podium this year or this race, do even better in the championship. But I'm glad that he's pushing forward, and I think I've said that for a long time. He's definitely like an Aussie great, a bit like Mark Webber. I was behind, and it's great to see him doing well. So Daniel Ricciardo, he's on a drive, isn't he? I was going to say JT there. He's on a drive there, Jordan. Triple header podium. Yeah. So I mean, what do you think he could do in Baku? It's strong by him, isn't it?
Well, it is proving that he can push the car and and push the car to his own ability to actually get onto the podium, because Christian Horner, as like you said on many Sky Sports interviews before, when he's on either being interviewed by whoever, or if he's on the pit wall talking to David Croft. Not David Coulthard, David Croft, right? there's two.
He's the real DC. Yeah, he's the only DC now. There's only one DC.
There's only one DC. And he was saying that like the Red Bull car isn't really, capable of being on the podium, which is honest. But obviously he must be kicking himself every time he says that. Just like, oh man, why? What's happened to us in recent days? You know what I mean? But Red Bull will need to keep trying to keep both drivers happy at the end of the day, because obviously Red Bull, as we all know, a fantastic team. They'll want to keep both drivers, happy and keep the car reliable. And if one's happy and one isn't, then it will cause a bit of a spanner in the works, and just like maybe that like the the team mortality that they have will sort of then decline. If one driver is a bit like unhappy with the way things are, then he'll sort of bring everyone down with him, and that's how sparks will fly and everything. So they've got to try and really keep the scales level, and just be like, okay, we'll keep your car to this, and we'll keep your car to this, and let's just hope and pray for like 52 laps that this car can hold out. And speaking of some cars that were quite unreliable, one in particular is a certain Lance Stroll in a Williams. Now, obviously, brilliant result by him in Canada, P9, scoring his first point of the season, and his first points in Formula 1, which is something I never really thought he would actually do. So he scored more points than the entire of the McLaren team, and he's only 18 years old. I'm embarrassed by that. So, I mean, now, obviously, Williams, it's kind of been like sort of like a hit and miss story with them, because you have Felipe Massa, who is doing like an average job for them, you know what I mean? He's doing where the car should be. They haven't really got the pace to be up where Mercedes and Red Bull are, but they are quicker than the likes of Renault and Haas and McLaren. But everyone's faster than McLaren. Let's say Sauber for that matter, because they've scored points. But Lance Stroll has kind of been like that weight, or that's holding everybody back, and you're like, oh, for God's sake, we've got Lance, Massa's doing brilliantly, then we've got you. It's like having two children. Like your oldest child is like doing in university. He's doing really well for himself. You know what I mean? He's doing these amazing things. He's traveling the world. He's seeing places. He's graduated from university, all A stars and everything. Then you got like your little kid who's just like thick as anything and just can't do anything in life. He's just, you know what I mean? Like he could burn a salad, let's say. You know what I mean? So that's how useless he is. It's a bit like that kid over there.
Is that you?
But yes, that was me. But obviously now he's sort of like bit, Team mortality has been boosted, obviously, as we were just saying about Red Bull. It's been boosted at Williams, and hopefully they can kick on by this. And I think Williams right now they are still on a bit of a rebuilding process, because when obviously they had a brilliant start to the V6 era, but then recently they've really declined, become like an average midfield team again, and I think they need to start picking up results if they want to try and challenge, because I think their realistic target is probably 4th. I would say anything higher than that is just a no-go zone. So Williams, they know now that Lance is capable of finishing a race and also in the point, and they know that they've got to drive it in Felipe Massa. So they are going to need a decent result this weekend and probably now until the summer break, and then go into the summer break and then go into the second part of the season, all guns blazing, and go, okay, right, here we go, Williams are back. So obviously, Lyle, what's your overall opinion on Williams, and do you think that they actually can get a good result, judging from what they did at what Lance Stroll did at Canada? Do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, so Williams, I mean, is a massive thing. I mean, obviously Lance Stroll, the spotlight came down on him. He's 7 races in, you know, and it's coming up to his home race. What is he doing? Basically, he scores points. So basically, he doesn't really, you know, turn like all the accusations, you know, around. He gets points, which is good, obviously, but obviously the Williams are definitely expecting a lot more from him. Claire Williams and people like that inside the team, they're saying that they just haven't. You know, it's like, obviously he is one of the drivers, you know, they're definitely going to support him, but they don't have time to kind of hold his hand through it, you know what I mean? And obviously one of the big things was Max Verstappen came in when he was 17, going on 18. He was a lot more advanced than Lance Stroll, and that was also something that's been said through the paddock, and I definitely agree. You know, he is not a Max Verstappen, which is a bit of a shame, because obviously he will want it to be Max Verstappen. And that talk of when a teenager was coming into Formula 1, that was younger than me and Jordan, so that was probably like the talk where we were thinking, oh my god, he's going to be the next prodigy. Unfortunately, he hasn't been. Well, so far anyway. Yeah. But at least he scored points at his home race. He impressed his home fans, which is good. He got a thumbs up from Lewis Hamilton driving. I didn't actually see what that was about. I don't know why. I don't know what his reasoning was for that. There
was a reason put out there, but I haven't read it personally, and obviously I don't know why he did it. So
I imagine that it was just like he was just saying like, you know, I don't know, good job. You know what I mean? Because it's like your home race. Good one. But yeah, and you know, so he did well. But that's the thing. I mean, Williams are just. They must, like, if I was working inside Williams, I'd be looking at the results and I'd be saying, yeah, you know, people might be thinking that Lance is, you know, he's a little bit better, and obviously, as you just said, John, he's outscored, obviously, Fernando Alonso, probably he's the biggest guy that he's outscored. Yeah. You know, so he's probably looking and thinking that as a driver point of view, it's not actually that bad, but Williams are probably thinking, right, okay, well, let's hold on a minute. We've had Bottas and we've had Massa, if you know, for the last few years, and obviously before that we've had, you know, some great names, and then we've also had some great drivers. We've had world champions. We're a team of, you know, greatness, really. Yeah. And they're just thinking this is going to end up being like one of our worst years in Formula 1 in terms of points, right? And they're probably just not looking forward to what's to come, because they've got a driver in there who he should be on retirement. And then they've got a driver in there who's, you know, a bit of a... He's not mature enough, you know what I mean? He's not mature enough to be in a Formula 1 car. He's not a Max Verstappen, and that's a shame. And also, as well, even Williams will be thinking, if he scores a single point every race, that's still probably not as good as what, you know, Williams want to be like. Because obviously they've had great results in the past. You know, we've seen Williams sneaking on the podium, you know, left, right and centre, even in the last few years. Let's just say from the V6 era, we've seen Williams sneaking into the big points, into the big boys' points, which I'd say like a 6 and up. We've seen them sneak into the points. We've seen them sneak into the podium. We've seen them on pole position. Massa's got pole position quite a few times. I always remember Austria 14. They locked out the front row.
They did, yes.
They didn't. I think one of them finished third, but they locked out the front row, and that was crazy to think that they've actually beaten Mercedes and they've beaten Red Bull, because obviously those two teams, and the Mercedes on the rise, Red Bull kind of on the fall, but obviously 4 times, you know, behind them. So that was a massive thing. Williams just came out of nowhere. That was probably one of the best races I'd say in modern times, just for that kind of like shock, you know what I mean? That shock factor. But anyway, it's like Lance might be doing an okay job at the moment because he scored points. Again, Felipe will be thinking, you know, I'm here supporting the team. But in terms of the internals by Williams, they're probably thinking, I'm not looking forward to what's to come, and especially for, let's say, Austria. If they've had pole position there, they've locked out the front wheels just in 2014. So if they can do that again, they need that kind of performance. They either need that in points in the race, or they just need that in terms of like you know, like an ego boost. Say if they get pole position or whatever, if they do really well on the side, then they can just think, you know, this is what we need to push into the second part of the season. But Williams are one of those teams where I reckon they just can't waste time. You know, they can't waste time with singular points. They need to be performing a lot higher than what they are at the moment. But obviously Lance, at least he scored points. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, if he hadn't, we would just be sitting here. We'd be sitting here, and it would be, I don't know what we'd be saying, but it just probably wouldn't be on the same lines as, you know, he's a good driver. He's, you know, it would probably be like Lance out, Wenger out, Lance out. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing. But at least he scored points in his home race. So you know, in terms of him, that's good from him. But obviously, yeah, I mean, obviously Lance and Felipe, you know, they're staying at Williams for the end of this season, until the end of this season. But what's after that? I mean, we'll be talking about like the silly season and who we think will go to Williams after that. Could be Alonso, but we'll have to discuss that in a later date. Anyway, so the next team we want to talk about is Force India. Now, obviously, Force India, big team. We both mentioned them in the predictions. Jordan put Esteban Ocon in 3rd place, and I put Perez in 2nd place. Big from them. Perez got a 2nd podium of his season last year, obviously after Monaco. Take out Canada, and as I said, it was a back-to-back race. Really strong from him. And again, a 5th and 6th position by the two Force Indians. And we named Esteban Ocon as driver of the day in the last race. Is very strong from them. And basically, I think the Pink Panthers in this race could basically destroy the race completely. I think they're going to be incredibly strong around here. They're ready for a fight. And on the topic of another teenager, that's one teenager who I think he's got the most, in terms of like the 3 teens on the grid, you know, John, like Lance Stroll, Max Verstappen, and obviously Esteban Ocon. I think Ocon has got the biggest drive out of them all. I think that he's ready to go for it. Do you know what I mean? He's ready to go for it, along with Perez, and along from a good backing in Force India. They must be strong. They must be feeling they must be feeling good about themselves. And I think they're ready to go for it. And obviously, who's going to be right? Who is going to be the Force India that's right? Is it going to be me with Checo in 2nd place? Is it going to be Jordan with Ocon in 3rd? It could be both of us. We don't know. But definitely they're going to have a great result, aren't they, Jordan?
Oh yes, I mean Force India they are such a great team. You know what I mean? And they have 2 amazing drivers. I know Lyle rates Esteban Ocon quite highly. You know what I mean? He's one of them. You know, he likes him in the sense of, right, I think this kid is going to be the next big thing. A bit like me with Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen's like my kind of driver prodigy, and obviously Lyle likes Esteban Ocon, and obviously as do I. And he's got amazing talent. Obviously, hasn't he? That's very, very, you know, undebatable. Let's say, you know what I mean. He's got pure talent, whether you like him or not, and he will go on to do great things. And I think, you know, this weekend he obviously the pair of them can do even good. You know, can do really, really good. They can get P4 and P5. That's still a really good result for a team like Force India, who, let's not forget, guys, are catching Red Bull. They're on P4. I think they're on 71, and Red Bull's on 120, 100. I'm not really doing that one.
So, but creeping up definitely. They're not
charge. Far away from Red Bull, and the way Red Bull are going at the moment, where I mean, you're fair enough that their podiums, Ricciardo's podiums, are getting them, you know, the edge over Force India. However, if they didn't have them podiums, because quite frankly, they wouldn't get the podiums if something did happen, like if Bottas didn't retire, or if Hamilton didn't have the problems, or if Vettel didn't have a bad race, or you know, them types of things. They wouldn't have got the podium. Then I think Force India would be like near enough, probably like 10 points away from Red Bull. So that just proves that they are a team on the up. And we have seen that, like, if there was a team to ever dominate Formula 1 again, a new team, it would be Force India, as things are things are going right now. And I mean, obviously we know how much how good Force India are, because both me and Mal have actually predicted for them to finish on the podium this weekend. And obviously, let us know your predictions as well. Let us know what you guys think of Force India. Are you a big fan of them? Are you not? Why? Tell us why. Tell us why you don't like them. And obviously,
and also if they change their name, what could it be?
Yes,
because obviously we know that's a rumour that's floating about. You know what I mean?
Isn't it? Yes, I heard something about where they could possibly change the name. I mean, we should give them some name suggestions. I mean, you've got F1 Debacho GP,
F1 Debacho,
F1 DSGP, John and Lyle GP,
Force India, sponsored by F1 Debacho,
Force Debacho, F1 Sahara, F1 Debacho,
the Pink Debacho,
BW
something pink related.
Debacho. Yeah, exactly. Force Pink DS. I don't know. Obviously, suggestions.
Force Pink. That's quite a cool one. Force Pink.
Force Pink DS.
Force Checo. Force Indian Pink.
Taxes. I'm not going down that route. But anyways, guys, this is where we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching as well. Obviously, enjoy the Grand Prix, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix as well. Obviously, go and check out the F1 Debate Show when that comes out on Saturday as well. And obviously, check out the last F1 Debate Show. I was on my own. I mean,
I know.
He left us stranded, guys. He said, you know, John, I am sick and tired of doing this debate show for the past year and a half.
Yeah.
You're doing it on your own this time. Just for this episode.
Sometimes we need like breaks, away from Jordan. It's like
one of them guys.
it's like one of those things where like he'll walk the streets and he'll find nobody, and then he'll find like we're all like hidden away in the bushes or somewhere like away from Jordan, like you know, like we've had enough, you know, we kind of do it. And also just one last thing I want to mention, because for the European Grand Prix, for the I shouldn't call it the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
We did so well.
And the I know that will catch you out, but obviously so last year I had this like big cycling event on the day of the Baku qualifying. And I was sick, unfortunately, the one day, and like the most important day that I had to do as well. And that was the first and only time, so the first and last time that I watched Channel 4's qualifying. And yeah, I don't know, that always relates to that. And it's been like every time I play Baku on the F1 2016 game or something like that, it's like it always brings back those kind of memories of not great. But yes, it was still a good race. Obviously, it was enjoyable, and the Sunday was enjoyable when I'd finished being sick. So lovely. That was good. Sorry if you're eating your tea.
Brilliant, my tea was just come, and then Lyle goes on about that. Like,
yeah, sorry about that.
Doesn't matter. I'll leave that.
Do you? Well, that shows us good. Do people eat takeaways watching us? That makes me feel good.
Pretty cool. That.
Tell us what takeaways you have in the comment section below. We'll see which one's the best.
What a random suggestion, but but on that
there might be
on that bombshell, we'll see you next time. So we have been there from the beach. If you have liked this video, please give it a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and we'll see you in the next episode, guys.
See you later, guys.